Hey, everybody, welcome to the brand new Man Cave Confidential. Well, it's really the old Man Cave Confidential, except now we have video. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not really sure. I am Darren O'Neill. He is FJ Shark, and I think you can see him if we do this. There, wave there. Welcome to the show, FJ Shark. Co-host sitting in the True Man Cave. Normally, I'd have the man cave going, but today we're in the office because it's just easier to do video here. And rather than seeing White Sox banners behind me, you can see Taylor Swift, which, I mean, if there's guys watching, I'm assuming they're never really going to see me at all anyway. It's all going to be just watching what's in the background, but maybe that is helpful.
That works.
Basically, this podcast is guys sitting around in the man cave talking about things, guys, like we're going to cover tech. We're going to probably cover a little bit of politics, especially with that being the season coming up here in this country. We'll be talking some sports, although it's hard to get very specific, although go Blackhawks. Being it's the internet, so it's hard to do a sports show because I might want to talk about the Blackhawks, somebody else might want to talk about the Penguins, and somebody else the Senator. It doesn't really, unless you're doing a straight sports show, it's kind of hard to do a sports in a podcast, but we're going to cover a little bit of all of that. FJ Shark, as you can see on his lower third here, womenfiguredout.com is where you need to go if you want to pick up his book, although he needs to update it because it was written 1865. How to Be the Jerk Women Love. I think it needs to be updated a little bit because when you wrote that, I mean, people were still using stone tablets and stuff like that.
What's a cell phone?
Right, that didn't exist. So, but the principles themselves are there. And if we could ever get him to sit still for more than 3 minutes, maybe you can update that book.
Do some online dating techniques.
Right, before online dating is completely and utterly gone. We'll talk about some products. I get a lot of products in. I'm a top Amazon reviewer, number 273 as of this morning. So we've actually made a little bit of a jump in the last few weeks, which is good. And we've been having a good time. Got to test a whole lot of good products, some not so good ones. Actually, the headphones we're using right here are a very nice set of Klipsch headphones that come in a as we totally disappear off camera, that actually come in their own wooden box, comes with a little leather carrying case, and they retail for $549. With that said, that's the reaction everybody has. They're like, what, $550? Everybody that I know pretty much spends between $500 and $700 on a phone that they get rid of every year or two. Mm-hmm. With that said, if you listen to a lot of music, this makes a big difference compared to the earbuds that come with your phones, or even the $20, $30, $40 headphones you can buy third party. And of course, once you're getting really serious, this is my latest gadget here. If I can pull this up on screen, which is a little headphone amplifier. So that actually gives you then better sound than you would normally get out of your laptop or out of your computer. So you can already tell it's going to be covered pretty well here as far as with the reviews. And we can give you some tips and tricks, because the one thing we get from a lot of people is, hey, how did you get to be a top Amazon reviewer? I'll give you the first tip right away, FJ Shark. You got to write reviews.
Let me write that down.
It would seem easy, but yeah, you have to actually write the reviews. And then you have to have people vote it up. So
by using videos, did that help bump you along? Like it took you in a whole new category of people that don't use videos? Or
Amazon uses an algorithm of some sort, which I'm not really 100% sure how it works. But I do think that video reviews are helpful in a way because people can see the product in the sense of, I do a lot of reviews, not a lot, but I've reviewed enough microphones. And to me, that's the greatest way to review a microphone, is to actually use the microphone, because you can hear it in the video review. And I'm using the microphone here. Normally, I feel a little bit naked here because I normally have a whole audio rig in front of me with the vocal processing, compressor, and all that stuff. This, we're just going straight live from a USB microphone into the computer. So, hopefully the audio is pretty good.
you've got enough equipment to make it look like a radio show, and it's like, around you, you can just get in there like a kit of a drummer, just surround yourself.
Right. Well, it kind of looks like it has that. That's the beautiful thing. The microphone we're using here is actually an LYX Pro SMU1. It is it's like $50, $60 USB microphone, and it's done a really, really great job. I've had people comment on my Amazon reviews, and you made a comment too that it's like, I can actually understand you using this microphone. You get a lot of these Amazon reviews, and it's like, what? I don't really understand. They're like 30 feet away trying to record it. For me, audio is important. Video is important too. For this, we're using a new C920 Logitech webcam. It's pretty much the standard right now, and if you watch for a good deal, you can get them anywhere between $50 and $60, which for the video quality that they do a really nice job, because if you really want to step up from this, there's not a whole lot. If you're doing any kind of YouTube videos, if you're doing video podcasting, there's not a whole lot above this $50 to $100 webcam until you start getting into that $500 range, which leads very quickly into $1,000 range, which sooner or later you realize that YouTube is compressing the hell out of the videos anyway. So, and you don't need to be super video to get watched on YouTube, as you've well found out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a slippery slope once you keep trying to improve everything. So use what you can to get started.
Right. And that's the deal. Use what you can to get started if you're doing podcasts. I've been doing audio podcasts since probably 10 years ago or more. The video is something brand new. By doing the Amazon reviews, that got me a lot more comfortable doing it, and realizing it's not super hard. And as long as you don't worry about having to edit every little thing out of it or worry about everything being perfect, it basically comes down to try to have a well-lit area. In your case, you're down there in the basement now, and you had a little too much light that was whiting you up like a ghost. You make a few little adjustments, but once you get to a basic level, you don't have to go entirely crazy, with it. And at some point, you're going to hear Frank's dog going crazy, or the phone will be ringing here, because we're doing a podcast. We're not in a professional recording studio, not quite yet anyway.
With all that, more real. That's more real.
Right. I mean, that's a guy sitting around. It's like if you're in the man cave, eventually your wife's going to yell and tell you to go do the laundry or cut the grass or do something like that. That's why you're in the man cave in the first place, because you're hiding away from stuff like that. So we're a couple of good Catholic school boys who went to an all-boys Catholic school, which is probably why we're as screwed up as we are. Just a basic guess. But, hey, if you have any comments, questions, we've got our Twitter names here. Hit us up there, or you can also email us, mailbag@mancaveconfidential. And there's a hotline, but nobody's ever called the hotline. But it's on the website, and I can look it up at some point, I'm sure. But you can call, leave a voicemail. But now that we're using Google Hangouts, I like the idea of the Hangouts because it can get people involved live. And you can get people involved, not only watching or listening live, but able to, if they have a question, be able to pop that in either via text or be able to bring them in via video. So this is the first video podcast we're doing, and we thought about doing this over Skype, recording it locally, which we didn't find a great solution for doing that. It just didn't seem like the quality was there. And we've tested out a few times on this, the Google Hangouts, and it seemed like the video quality was at least doable. But that's something that if people start complaining about the video, about the frame rates, and if you really think it looks just too much like crap to watch, let us know and we'll look for another system. But as far as being easy to use, easy to set up. It's hard to beat this Google Hangouts. I mean, it's just everything's built in to do the lower third. You just basically plug in your webcam, you plug in your microphone, and you're ready to go, Shark. There's really not much to this video podcasting, which is one of the reasons why we talked about this. TV is about to change. I mean, it already is changing a little bit, but there's no doubt in my mind that YouTube is about to, what was that song? The Muggles, the Ruggles, video killed the radio star.
Right.
It's going to be YouTube killed the TV star, because now any idiot with a camera, us included, we can be beamed directly into your home.
Well, yeah. The other kicker, it's like people we talked about earlier. Instead of having 5 TVs, they're going to go down to 1 maybe. They're not going to have a home phone. They're going to use their cell phone. I heard people last week. They're like, "Oh, I don't even own a TV. I just have my phone and I subscribe to Netflix. That's it." It's like, oh, okay. Hope there's not a recall on broccoli or anything.
Hey, you can get your news on Twitter. I mean, it's amazing to me how much Twitter has gone from, depending who you follow, of course. But for things that I follow that are news stories that are up to the minute, changing things, I'm a big baseball fan. Any move that happens in the baseball world, because all of the guys that report on this stuff are on Twitter, you end up getting any trades or any signings. These guys, instead of sitting down and writing the long article and submitting it, or waiting to get their 5 minutes on TV to go on and talk about what's going on in the trading world, they go to Twitter immediately. 140 characters later, it's like, boom, Alex Gordon back to the Royals. Yeah. That's where you find it, and that's where, for me, I follow a bunch of White Sox fans. So immediately when you hit Twitter, you see what's been going on, and you already have the reaction of people that you follow. So it's an interesting way. Twitter is talking about raising the minimum amount of characters from 140 to, I think it was something crazy like 10,000, which
that's a big jump.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've recently taken away. There may be a limit that I'm not aware of, but they've pretty much taken away any limits on sending a direct message on Twitter. So if you want to send 3 or 4 paragraphs, you can do that now on Twitter via direct message. To me, Twitter, the beauty of it was the short form that you could scroll through it. Of course, that's kind of being screwed up now anyway, because people are posting videos to it. They're posting the large graphics. So it's like, if you need to say it in under over 140 characters, a lot of times what people are doing is just putting it into a graphic and posting that, and it takes up your whole page anyway. So it's interesting to see where this social media stuff goes. And, again, in the world of you wrote the book in there, how to, get a date, how to approach women, and that, it really has turned into a whole different ball game with the technology changing. The way people interact has totally changed. And I mean, this kind of stuff, when we were in school, it was really so very sci-fi. I remember going into Disney World when Epcot Center opened, and I don't remember when that was, but I was young enough, going up into Spaceship Earth. And one of the little vignettes that they had was like one kid talking to another kid across the world using video chat. And it was like, ooh,
right.
That's crazy. It's like, here we are.
Right. Everything on the Jetsons is coming true.
I don't have the robot that cleans the house yet. Although I guess, you have the Roomba, right?
Yeah, that's right. Put it in the room with the dog and let him fight it out.
Well, that could get very messy at some point, but it's interesting to see how the technology moves. And again, that's one thing that, we definitely will be covering here. And as far as these headphones go, I definitely, while this isn't a full review, definitely recommend these, as well as the other Klipsch headphones. I mean, it's something that's interesting to me because, I really like good quality sound, and there was no way I was taking this set of headphones to Vegas when we went to Vegas a couple weeks ago. It's like, I can't travel with a $550 set of headphones because I know it's going to get, something's going to get screwed up with it. So these are definitely kind of the stay-at-home headphones. So I took the pair
$12 gummies.
Right. I took a much cheaper pair, more inexpensive pair of Klipsch headphones, which were like a $50 or $60 pair of headphones, and they still sounded absolutely fantastic. And, I'd like to say it made air travel bearable, but I don't think air travel's ever really bearable anymore. It's horrible. Have you flown anywhere recently? It's nuts.
No, with just security wise or what?
Well, both. I mean, we had, first off, we traveled the week of Christmas, and that we left for Vegas on a Sunday. And my dad is in his 70s, and he needs a cane to walk. And I was never really happy about that until this trip, because the TSA line at O'Hare was, I don't think you could have wrapped around again. I mean, it was literally, you came in and there was this whole, the whole rat's maze that they have set up that normally fits enough. That's your normal queuing line, right? That's what normally fits everybody waiting to go into there. Well, that was filled. And then there was a line from literally one side of the terminal all the way to the other side of the terminal.
Wow.
We heard people that were talking once they actually made it through that security line that they spent over 2 hours just at the TSA line.
Wow.
Luckily, again, there was a line for folks in wheelchairs. Since my dad walks with a cane, he went over there. The woman from American Airlines kept telling my wife and I, "You can't be in the line. You can't be in the line."
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, well, I'm just going to wait and see what the TSA guy says, because he's a federal employee and you're not. I mean, that was pretty much the question. And
my dad might fall, and I'm here to catch him. So
right, and my mom's in her 70s as well. They've got their bags. We're helping them carry stuff. TSA guy didn't carry. He was a Cub fan, which is okay with me. I mean, it's was a really cool guy. It's like, you're with them, cool, no problem. So the TSA, we didn't have a problem, which is good, because we were assisting. I mean, it wasn't like we were just trying to cut the line or do something. To separate people like that, I understand if you have, as you've traveled with, the kids' high school or something like that. I understand it's hard to keep 100 people together, but I don't think 4 people, two people in their 70s and 2 people, in their 40s that are traveling with them. It's like, use a little bit of common sense. We didn't bring the old people with just to cut in line.
Right. Well, I was in charge of at my daughter's high school, the jamboree for band, and we're in charge of like the handicap parking area, and people would pull up and be like, give you some story. Oh, I just had surgery 6 weeks ago. And I mean, what do you want me to do? I say, where's your scar? Pull out some medical bills. It's like,
yes.
I'm like the biggest pushover for if somebody's got an excuse. It's like, well, go ahead, park there. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to ask for, any more verification of anything. Just go ahead. If you've got the boldness enough to come up to me and ask and say, I need this handicap parking. Okay, fine. And if you're lying, okay, fine. I'm not going to ask to see your knee surgery scar. You might
have them towed the minute they walk away from the car. I mean, if they walk away from the car and they're walking, then you're like, yeah,
hey,
let me call the tow truck.
Limp a little.
Right. But it was absolutely, and again, this was on American Airlines. I don't know if American is necessarily any worse than any of the other airlines, but I can tell you, as a guy that is 6'6", fitting into airplane seats is not an easy thing.
Wow.
I mean, it's absolutely not an easy thing. And without having the exit row or having that first row right behind they have to put the wall between first class and the rest of us peons, because you need a wall. You need that wall there. Even though what I don't understand is you need the wall, but then everybody from coach ends up walking right through first class to stand there to wait to go to the bathroom anyway. So, I mean, the wall's not really doing anything. Right. See what you're missing. It's like, but if that wall wasn't there, I would have we actually paid for those seats. And I still had to stand up at one point because my knee was just hurting so bad from not being able to stretch it at all to be able to, to get any movement going there. that if that wall wouldn't have been there, if the first class seat was just in front, the way it should have been, it's like it would have all worked out much better. But every airline does it, so I can't really complain about American on that. But I will complain about the lack of legroom. Southwest is horrible. American is horrible. And it gets to the point to where you just don't want to fly. And I understand there's a lot of smaller people, and I understand this is really a mathematical problem. This is something that needs to be solved because everybody doesn't have the same needs, but you're, like I said, you're then traveling with different people to where it's like, well, most people want to sit together. So it's like, okay, well, if I need leg room, but I want to sit with my wife, she doesn't need the leg room. It's like, should I have to pay more for that? Should there be seats available that, hey, it's, you go to Disney World, right? Or you go to Great America, and it's like, if you're not this tall, you can't ride the ride. Well, maybe they should have the same thing in airlines where if you're not at least this tall, you can't sit in these seats. These are here. They're not here to give people a perk. This isn't here because somebody's going to get something better than you. It's because my legs are twice as long as your legs, and I need more room. Otherwise, you don't want to be the person in front of me who's going to try to put their seat back, and there's my legs sitting there. That happened the last time I flew Southwest and wasn't able to get an exit row. The guy kept doing one of these, like, and I'm finally like, hey, asshole, knees. You're not going to be able to push the seat back no matter how many times you try. And it just gets to the point to where it is such a pain to fly. It really is. It's to the point now, on American, at least you still get a free drink, but they actually they actually push around a cart now where they sell sandwiches and stuff like that. And it's like, you're charging a decent amount for these plane tickets. I mean, I think it was around $400 per person round trip from Chicago to Vegas. You're charging $25 for every checked bag. Do you really have to charge for the sandwich? I don't know. It's I guess it's nice that it's offered, but it's not the way airfare. It's not the way it used to be.
No bag of peanuts.
No peanuts. Well, God forbid somebody's allergic, right?
Well, that's true.
God.
Yeah, you just start smelling them and something will happen. Yeah.
Right. It floats through the air and then somebody's in anaphylactic shock on the ground because, bad peanuts. Wow. But, it's the seats are so uncomfortable. I don't know if there's an airline out there, and I don't know if they could even make a go of it as it sits because, if you're the airline that gives extra leg room,
give extra leg room.
Right. And then there's less, then I understand the fact that if airline A can fit 100 seats and airline B gives you more leg room but can only fit 80 seats, they have to charge more. And I get that, but it doesn't make the whole situation any more palatable for somebody that's tall and trying to fly.
Right. Well, okay, that's the question. How much more would you be willing to pay to be more comfortable? So therefore, if you paid $400, would $450 be too much? Or, how's that $50 looking when your knees are hurting? That's like, oh, well, hell, I should have paid the $50. So
right.
Where's your price that it would be worth it? Would you pay an extra 100? Would you pay an extra just 25? Where do you get that?
Well, it really comes down to being, on this particular trip, we decided not to go with the exit row going out because the exit row going out was an extra, I believe it was $79 per ticket. So again, my wife and I, if we wanted to sit in the exit row together, beyond that $400, this was an extra $79. We did get the bulkhead coming back, and I believe those were $59 each way. But you figure right there, 79, 59, that's $138 on top of the $400 round trip. When you're dealing with, if you want to, again, sit next to somebody, that's about another $275 you're adding to the trip just for the, just to be able to get a little extra leg room.
Right.
It's not like you're getting a whole nother person to come along with you. It's like we're talking to get a little extra leg room here. And, the airlines have seen that they can make money at selling it used to, the good old days, they never were able to sell the exit rows. Right. Now that they're able to sell those and charge a premium price for them, it's all gone to hell. We got to the airport. The interesting thing to me was that we got to the airport, and this kind of pissed me off, that we got to the airport in Chicago here, O'Hare. Like I said, we got here really early. We were able to avoid the massive line, so we did get to the gate pretty early. And once the flight that was going before us left, we got up there, asked if they had exit row seats available, and the woman didn't even look. She was like, "No, we're all filled out here. I can't do it."
Oh, wow.
As the flight was getting ready to board, we got, is anyone traveling together? We're trying to seat a family together. I need 4 people to sit in the exit row. It's like, you freaking asshats. So I was right there. I'm like, yo, me, exit row. So we got free exit rows going out, which at least good. But, it's like, again, you're looking for an airline, it's like American, you certainly did not do anything to keep my business, really, at that point, because we did the right thing. We got there early and asked. Now, if there were no exit row seats available, I can understand. If they were sold, there's not a damn thing the American employees can do about it. Right. The fact that you magically had 4 exit row seats appear the minute the flight was boarding, I don't particularly understand that part. You didn't do anything to ingratiate, to keep my business going there. And, it's funny because again, maybe this is happening on all types of airlines now, and the world is changing, and you have, I guess, people keeping these jobs a lot longer than they used to. But even my dad, who is in his mid-70s, was like, these stewardesses are older than dirt.
Oh.
Some of them look like they were in their 60s or 70s. It's like, where are the good old days?
Well, okay, right. But see, I was wondering where all the middle age to older to senior, whoever people that are working like that are going, because you go to the theater, it's all young people. You look around at police officers, it's a lot of young people. They're directing, they're holding back traffic for parades. It's all young people. It's like, I don't remember being, where that crossed over, where we became older than that group. I don't remember being, we're
old.
Yeah. It was like, we were in grammar school and high school. And to me, the cop was some guy with a mustache who was kind of, weighed 250 pounds, could take you down. And then now it's like, oh, you got a, 180 pound 22-year-old in his, the bat utility belt weighs more than he does. It's like, how did this happen? When did this get switched?
And how did all the old people go to start being flight attendants for American?
Yeah, it's like that's where they went. It's like when did that happen? So, and it's what really is amazing is I went to the dentist started going back about a month ago, and everybody there was younger than me. The dentist is younger than me. I'm like, I've never had a doctor or dentist younger than me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shark. You're not going to make it.
It's like, wait a minute. How did you get through school? Wait a minute. You were putting your time to use and you're younger than me. How did you finish? You had time to finish? I should have finished. I should have went to medical school. No, I would have hated medical school.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. This is kind of what the show is built upon. It's like we're mid-40s and we're sitting here going. It's an interesting thing as you see, because mentally, well, I guess maybe I've never actually mentally grew up, but you don't feel old. You're older, and you've got kids, so it's really going to start hitting home once you have kids that are kind of going into college and that, because it's like, if I have college age kids, I may not be really good at math, but I'm pretty sure that means I'm getting old, but it's like, we don't really feel older. It's like, it's just something that kind of happens around you. And there was a movie, and I don't remember the name of it. It was just a little indie flick with, I think the guy, if I remember right, it was the guy that played Ted in How I Met Your Mother was in it. And he goes back to college as, he's like he's been through, and I think he goes back to teach a class or to work on something, whatever it is. He winds up hooking up with one of the students. And one of his older friends, they're out at a bar at one point, and they're talking about all the deep things, life and all that. And the guy's like, "Well, let me tell you a secret. It's like, you never really stop wanting that." And you and I have talked about this before. It's like, well, when you're like 12, 13, 14, whenever you start, sneaking peeks at Playboys, it's like the ideal woman is like that 18 to 25 kind of range. And it's like, oh, wow, when I get to that age, that'll be awesome. And then all of a sudden you're looking back going, wow, when I was that age, that was awesome. But
you start going that it's like the year she was born is all of a sudden the year you were born. And then all of a sudden it's like the year she was born was the year you graduated grammar school. And you're like, wait a minute.
And then the year you graduated high school. And then the year you graduated college.
You're like, what? When did this happen?
Time waits for no man.
But that's never changed. Like you always think they're that age in the magazine. It's like they always remain in that 18 to 25 year range. So in your mind, you're not saying, well, here's the update 10 years later. You think
right. You probably don't want to see the update. That's a website that we probably could launch. I don't know if we get a lot of traffic on that.
Updated
Playmates after the fall, after 20 years later, after they've given up, I mean, they, and it's an interest that is, we can talk about that on the show too, because I think it's still going on. It could be an interesting thing. As a web designer, one of the first websites I did was for a Playboy Playmate, and for a while there were conventions. I mean, like you have sci-fi conventions now. There were these things, if they're still around, they were called glamour cons. So, just like your sci-fi con and everything like that. But it was all of these, well, not all, but a decent amount of these women that appeared in Playboy and maybe some other types of magazines. But it was mainly the Playboy ecosystem. They would go out and they would, sign autographs, and they would sell their 8x10s and their issues of Playboy, and they would sign them. And, it was a very bizarre kind of thing, because there is that shelf life. You only have so long,
right?
Before that, before people don't want to see that any longer. But for us guys, I mean, we're still, hey, it's like you still feel like you're in high school or you're in college, and it's like you feel like you're the same person, even though, there's a few extra pounds and a few less strands going on, and but it's like that. Not in here. In here, it's all great,
Or they're selling their 8x24s.
Hey, right, because you got to. I don't know if that's really good. It just kind of went really much wider now. You need, instead of being the centerfold, I have to fit this on camera. That's not good.
Not good.
That is not good at all. So you survive. I survived the holidays. I did it very simply by going to Las Vegas. But I took my parents.
Avoiding everyone.
Right. So that was nice. I took my parents. We went to Vegas with my wife. We avoided everybody else. It's you people that deal with your families. That's where problems happen.
You spend a few hours a year with people that you spent 364 days a year trying to avoid.
Right. Which I don't understand. It's the whole holiday concept, and everybody's got to get together so they can hear. And at least nobody in my family for years now has done those, the brag letters, because they're just, at some point they're just, you just want to just shred them, light them on fire, throw them away, because none of it's true. Although the interesting thing is now it's so much harder to lie about things because there is the internet, there's Facebook. It's really hard to send out that letter once a year going, Uncle Bob is doing great. And then, you see Uncle Bob's Facebook and he's in rehab for the 4th time, like.
Well, that's the thing. You never seen a bad resume, and you've never seen a bad letter at Christmas. It's like everything's always better there. We usually pull out a card that's got several pictures on it, and then this year we even put a key attached to it, so it's like a little 1-sentence blurb about whatever the heck was going on in the picture, and that's it. It goes through the year and you're done. And a paragraph about each person, I don't know, I still have about 5 that I need to read. The first couple lines are like, oh, okay, and then I'll get to this. Well, it'll be Valentine's Day, it'll be Easter, it'll be 4th of July, and I'll be like, hey, I got to read those letters from Christmas.
It was a great shopping season. I'm sure Amazon did really, really well. FedEx, again, didn't deliver everybody's packages. Glad you learned last year how to get all this crap in a row for the Christmas holiday. Next year, it's going to be interesting. I have a brother-in-law that's a UPS driver, and next year, Christmas Eve is on a Saturday. So I wonder if they all have to work on Christmas Eve. And with all this Amazon, all of this next day stuff, all this 2-day, next day, same day stuff, it's getting to be, it's a hell of a job to have to be the person that delivers all this stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, also you were saying about the 1-day delivery or using the drones, and now there's the new law or something where you have to have your drone, if it's got a camera and how much it could carry, you have to have it registered with the FAA and Homeland Security.
Right. Well, especially if it's big enough. But I mean, that's the interesting thing. Everybody that, is getting a drone, everybody's getting these little, hoverboards, which are exploding on airplanes. Not good. Not good at all. And they don't hover. They're little, just like mini Segways. There are wheels. Hover means above the ground. Wheels are touching the ground. But
I remember a fire in Back to the Future 3 or 2. I don't remember that.
Right. I don't remember that happening either. But that's what we were getting in line, from Vegas going home. It's like the one woman that's like working for American Airlines. You don't have any hoverboards or anything, do you? It's like, no. And she's like, well, there were like a bunch of people trying to like take them back to like Hungary. And it's like, no, it's like, it's the cheap batteries that the Chinese use that, these knockoff batteries at altitude could accidentally ignite.
Oh my gosh.
Airplanes frown upon accidental ignition in the air. I don't know why they frown upon that. You don't want that to happen. But you'll see on almost anything I get with I think probably everything I get with a lithium-ion battery, as long as the company sending it is legit. There's a big sticker now on the side of the box saying that there's lithium-ion batteries, so they can make sure those don't go onto planes or things like that because they can explode. With that said, American Airlines on our trip seemed to have problems with the cargo bay doors, both at O'Hare and in Las Vegas. We ended up sitting on the tarmac for a little over an hour as they dealt with the problem in the cargo area. On the way out, from what I understood, there was a small hole in one of the cargo doors.
Define small. That's kind of relative.
It's like really, so there's a hole in the plane. Is that bad? Only if your cargo is in. Really, it's like, okay, we're going to Vegas. Let's just roll the dice. Is our bag in that section? It might, fall out somewhere over the Rockies. Who knows?
But go back to the small. It's like, okay, small, we're talking mouse, or because it's a plane, a small hole could be a small hole we could drive a car through because it's a plane.
Right, because it's a really, really big plane. Yeah, and then on the way back, they couldn't open the one cargo door, which and this was really, since this was a late night flight, well, not late night, but we were getting into O'Hare. We were supposed to get into O'Hare at like 9. We ended up getting into O'Hare probably about 20 after 10 or so, which is good because the last bus going back to the suburbs was like 11. It was, we didn't have a whole lot of extra time. We originally thought we were going to have like 2 hours after we got back, and that ended up not being the case. But there's nothing worse than being on an airplane, knowing that there's really not many later flights going that day, and being told that there's a problem with the cargo door since it can't get opened. The FAA regulations were, if they can't get that door open, it is not suitable to fly. We may need to deplane.
Oh boy.
And this was right before all that bad weather came through the Chicago area. Right. So luckily we got home and were able to get past that. But it kind of worried me that this is the first time that I can remember ever sitting on a tarmac and having to do that at both ends of the flight. Again, American Airlines has not wowed me with their ability to do their jobs and to do it well.
I was going to text you because I heard you guys got snow in Vegas for the first time in a long time or something. Did you see any snow while you were out there?
I read about it. It's like you're in Vegas. You don't have to go outside. That's the beautiful thing. It's kind of like looking up to the weather before we were going to Vegas. My mom's checking out the weather, and it's like, it's only this in Vegas. It's only this in Vegas. It's like, you never have to go out of the hotel. It's huge. Everything you want under one roof. You never need to go outside. We got there the night that the crazy homeless woman in her car decided to mow a bunch of people down on the street.
Yeah, right.
And that made big news. I mean, that made big news all over the place. But this is, and again, I don't like to make light of any situation like that. And it just says to me, this is the perfect example for when people are, I understand the argument to a certain extent. And the people that are completely anti-gun, who don't think anybody should have a gun, it's like, if we just get all guns off the street, nobody will be able to kill anybody. Cars. Got to get them off the street. This woman ran down, like 40 people?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a tool. Guns a tool, cars a tool. And some people actually were like, well, we already regulate vehicles so much that, you have to pass a test to get a license. It's like, really? When's the last time you heard of somebody being denied a license to drive a car because they were not all mentally up here?
Right.
Don't believe that's ever happened. But that was fun being in Vegas for that, especially because right, it's a white Christmas, people getting run over, and of course the first thing they go to was like, and I love the way these people, the news covers things like, we have not ruled out terrorism as of yet. So there's nothing better than stuff going around like just right out in front of your hotel, what's going on, right? But you can get anything you want in Vegas. It's good. It's really the highlight for us is when we go down to this area. There's a couple different parts of the Strip, but this time we were at the Delano Hotel, which is connected to the Mandalay Bay, which is basically as far down on the Strip as you can go. So you're kind of out of the way, which is good. And they have a restaurant there it's in a little like not strip mall. It's in a little mall that's connected to the hotel, and it's an Irish pub called Rira, and it's the best freaking Irish pub that I've found. I wish the pubs in the Chicago area would learn something from these guys, because shepherd's pie was actually made with lamb.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. You would think that wouldn't be too hard, but yeah, it is. But you can get anything you want in Vegas, and we learned we were on a really good deal that you got $60 a day after whatever the rate was. You got a $60 a day credit per room. Obviously, we had 2 rooms. Again, we were traveling with my parents, and you got that towards food or other various things. And now on the last day, this was a whole lot of fun. So we're going down at like 11 a.m. My mom wanted a little bit of a later checkout because my dad, kind of slow getting around and all. We were already out of our room, and we're going to check out. And the girl at the checkout's like, well, you didn't use today's $60. And I'm like, but no, it was just $60. We were there for 3 nights. We were there for 2 concurrent 3-night stays because that was just the way it had to be booked. And I'm like, well, no, we used it on this day. And she's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And then so I'm like, well, then she hasn't used it either because my mom was with us. And she's like, well, no, you haven't either. Well, I'll extend your checkout time until noon. And I'm telling you, this was like 5 after 11.
Wow.
My dad's up in the room. He's flying. He's not going to eat anyway. But we hadn't had breakfast yet. So it's kind of like, let's go to the buffet, which was $30 a person because it's a Christmas, Oh, yeah. So they were free. Kim and I, my wife, free buffet. My mom, free buffet. And we're coming out of there. And it was like literally, this was the best part of this whole story, was that it's about 5 minutes to 12. And I'm like, well, I'm assuming since she said I will extend you until noon. Once noon came, they're probably checking your room out and you can't charge anything to the room anymore.
Right.
So it's like 5 minutes to 12. We go into this other restaurant there that served some awesome sandwiches. It was called Citizens in Mandalay Bay. But they also had a bunch of cookies and muffins and everything like that. And I'm like, to my mom, it's like, you have $30 to spend. 5 minutes.
You've got
go.
5 minutes.
And she's just like, All right, give me one of those. And she's like, what are we up to? I'm like, whatever the amount was, I'm like, how about those 5 cookies? The cookies were like $2 a piece. Okay, 5 cookies, throwing those all in. So that was a free $30 there. Which basically what it was. Then we went back to the front desk to check out. We offered the girl one of the cookies, and hey, she took some more money off her bill. So that wasn't a bad thing. That's the beauty of Vegas, but it's different than it used to be, which I guess everything changes. Vegas is, you can get free drinks while you're on the casino floor, which is good. But the food is just, some of it's phenomenal, but the pricing on some of the food is crazy. That's why I loved Rerod, the Irish place. It was a very reasonable place to eat. You didn't have to spend a lot of money. 2 of the days we spent more on breakfast than we did dinner. So that's Vegas for you. That is literally Vegas for you. The one morning we had breakfast and, didn't pay attention. It's like when, again, it's kind of interesting when it's the whole mental thing about this is that you look at the price of what you're paying for what you're eating. You don't pay any attention to what you're paying for what you're drinking for breakfast.
Right.
The meals themselves were reasonable. Maybe 20. I had a carne asada, a Mexican steak breakfast, and that was maybe $17 or $20. Perfect. That's fine. It was actually very good. What we didn't realize was just your normal cup of coffee was $5.50, and just a normal little glass of orange juice, $7.
Wow.
So it's like you could go a long way on just what you're drinking for breakfast. So you got to know what you're doing, but overall, if you can get a good deal, Vegas isn't really, it doesn't have to break the bank. And, not that you're ever going to win gambling, but maybe you get lucky. I've never gotten lucky. Been to Vegas 3 times, never walked away with more money than when I left.
Well, that's the big argument that these casino owners and managers were saying. They said you could, was it like $5,000 or $10,000 people drop at Disney, and you're not getting that money back. And regardless if it rains,
very true,
horrible time at the park, whatever happens, there's no guarantee that's your lock time that you're there and whatever. If you wired that $5,000 or $10,000 to any hotel in Vegas, you would be comped so many things, treated like a king, and then you might even walk home with more money than you came with. Whereas at Disney, it's gone.
Oh yeah, it goes and it's disappeared. The mouse, he will steal from you. You got to watch out for those shifty mice. But yeah, that's exactly it in Vegas, because you've got and it's interesting that they will track every dollar spent when you use that little, the little player's card or the what do they call them? It's your frequent player, whatever it is, that they're to keep you in their ecosystem that you put into the machine every time you go and play the rewards card. It tracks literally everything you did, because last year we stayed at a non-MGM property. We went into one, we were like walking through. My wife had her thing from last year, the card, sat down at a machine, put that in, put $1 in. Well, that shows up now. When you go and you can get a breakdown, which I guess is good and bad for some people, is that you can actually get a complete breakdown of how much money you put into the machines, how much money you took out of the machines, whether you're up or down. And, it was interesting for me that, it seemed to kind of make sense as far as the mathematics go, playing knowing what the odds are on video poker, that, if I think mine, you put in about 5,000, took out a little less than 5,000, lost like $400, but I had put in, I've bet $5,000 over the time of the trip. So it's interesting to kind of see how that goes. Right. And every time I seem to go back to to their little desk to get something, it's like at first we showed up and we were, Sapphire, which is the lowest. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now here you have a Pearl card. And then I went back again a couple of days later. Oh, now you have a Gold card. Wow. Well, it turns out that since the 2 rooms were together, my parents got absolutely no points. But everything that was spent on the trip went into my Players Club card, or whatever you want to call it. So, so now I look
upgraded. They're getting downgraded.
Right. Now I look like a high money. Right. That's exactly it. Now it's like
knocking on their door. You're here to spend money, right? Come on.
Spend some cash. Spend some more. Well, my dad does it. He'll like bet the quarter machines, and he hit the royal flush, of course. So, Unfortunately, well, good for him. He turned a quarter into $75. If it was me, I would have turned $1.25 into $1,000. So, winning's still winning, I guess. It's better than losing. That's what I hear anyway.
What was in The Color of Money? Money won is twice as good as money earned.
I would definitely agree with that. It's like that's exactly it. So, but it's fun. I mean, we got to get you to Vegas. I mean, I know I put it off for a long time. I was always like, what do I want to go to Vegas for? It's just because the problem was the only casinos that I had ever gone into before going to Vegas there was one small Indian casino up around Minneapolis before. I guess it's now a huge kind of Vegas type casino, but when I went in, it was kind of a dump. And then, you got just a lot of people smoking, the dregs of humanity kind of thing, which was also what we saw when we went to a concert at a Indian casino up in Milwaukee a few years back. And it was just kind of like, it was depressing.
Right.
It's like you'd walk through and it's like there's people that look like they're homeless, or it looks like they're spending their rent money and their food money, and they're just pumping it into the machines. And it's like, that's no fun. Vegas is a little different. Well, it depends where you go in Vegas, because and it's interesting to me because there's some of these casinos. One was in the Rio Hotel, where Penn and Teller have an excellent show, let me tell you. But the casino was dark. It was dingy. I mean, you were in a perpetual state of middle of the night. That was just the vibe that this casino was. There was not a lot of light going on, and dark, dingy, smoke filled. Now you go to the Venetian, and it's like a perpetual noon. Wow. The amount of light and the amount of, the cleanliness, the amount of light, the whole vibe is like you could go down it in the middle of the night and it looked, very bright and everything's, it's like, so, okay, I understand. There's two totally different concepts working there as far as how they're going to get you, I guess, to spend the most amount of money that you possibly can. But you can, there are casinos like the Venetian where you look like something more that you would see like in a nice movie where they're glamorizing the whole thing. And, at least you feel a little bit better. You're kind of having a little more fun rather than if you're in the dumpy, dark one that it looks like people are losing their life savings next to you. I can't have a good vacation when that's going on. I don't know why, but it just doesn't seem fun, right?
Well, I'm surprised all of them haven't, done that. Was it that manual that comes out every year? It's like $500 to $1,000 for this manual of like how to, like the findings, the research for that year of what's been working in the casinos, like how to keep the ceiling and the floor. There's a special psychology into it. It's either like nothing going on, or that other casino that had like an entire show going on above you. They tested that. Is it plain carpeting, then testing the color, versus crazy, jungle pattern carpeting on the floors? And then it's like, where are your eyes going? They want you focused on the games. They don't want you looking around.
Or they want you really distracted.
or really distracted. Yeah. So I wonder what wins, because it's like, are you just supposed to focus on the games? Or are you supposed to, be like, well, look, I got a show and everything's going on here and the ground's lighting up. It's like, I'm going to stay here. It's keeping me, like you said, away from reality long enough.
Well, which is exactly that's really a great way to describe Vegas, which is just, it's not reality. And for better or for worse, it's not reality. I mean, I've read that there are casinos and stuff now that have, like pole dancers and stuff going on. Obviously, in Vegas, the nice thing is you can pretty much go to any type of casino you want to, and any level of casino. And if you're really more comfortable with one over the other, you can get whatever experience that you want now, which, I mean, I don't spend a lot of money, but I would rather be around a very nice, airy, brightly lit casino. And, they'll bring you drinks for free and you tip $1 a drink. It's like, where else can you get a drink for nothing but a tip? I mean, that's, from a lot of people that drink, just go to Vegas. I mean, for every $5 or $10 you were going to spend on a drink out at a bar, put it into a machine.
Right.
Because you're getting the booze for free. It's great. Free booze. If you're an alcoholic, of course, avoid Las Vegas.
Avoid Las Vegas. What about with the smoking, I mean, is that up to the casino if you can smoke in there or not? Because there's some people that are like, I'm not going to go where there's smoke. Are there smoking sections, or is it like that's the casino rule? Like
In most,
you can't smoke anywhere.
there are a few that there was one in the Palazzo, which is connected to the Venetian. There was an area of the casino that was smoke free. Most of the casinos allow you to smoke. With that said, again, it's really going to depend on the class of casino. My guess is at places like the Venetian, they're spending way more money than you or I would guess on systems that filter the air and keep that smoke away from people who don't want to, there's somebody sitting right next to you. There's only so much you can do, but they filter that stuff out pretty good now, and less people seem to be smoking. But again, I think that Vegas is one of those places where if you smoke once a year and you go to Vegas, that's probably where you're smoking. You're smoking, you're drinking, and
Right.
and you're having a gay old time. A lot of Asian folks come for the New Year's for some reason. That's what we've noticed going around the Christmas holiday. The nice thing about going over Christmas is that it is a lot less crowded overall. So, you don't have to worry about fighting for machines and all that.
Well,
but it depends.
Like a whole podcast show we should do about, educating somebody about if they've ever been to Vegas. So I could be that person, ask what other people might think, oh, this is a dumb question, I shouldn't ask it. But I'll ask the dumb question because I don't know. And then you'll
Right.
say, oh, no, you should go here, try this, try that, and name specific things, or in general, what to stay away from, what to go to, where you get the biggest bang for your dollar. That's incredible. That would be because you're doing it. You've been there, and it's like you could say that firsthand.
Right. And it's interesting when you see, because even the video poker machines that are exactly the same machine, the casino is allowed to set, and any of these video machines, you can pull up the odds and what the payouts are. That's all, publicly viewable. You just have to go and look for it. But just because you're playing the same machine and the same game, the odds on you winning could actually be quite different from one casino to another. There are websites that are dedicated to nothing but that, as far as finding the video poker machines with the best odds. Now, if you find a good video poker machine, I think they pay back as long as you know the system, and it takes a little bit of learning, but if you can spend a couple of hours learning basically you've got a list of what you should do in every situation, depending on what cards you have. If you have a pair, do this. If you have just a high card, do this. If you have 3 to a flush or 4 to a flush, do this. If you could learn the basic rules, it pays you back. If you were to sit there and play over an extended period of time, it's over 99% that if you do everything correct, those odds should pay you back. So, for every $100 you spend, you should get 99 of that back. Wow. If you do everything correct. And basically what you're waiting for is the royal flush, which just pays out, again, on a dollar and a quarter bet at the Mandalay Bay when we were just there, that $1.25 bet pays out $1,000 if you get the royal flush. Again, now if you're just betting a quarter, $75.
Right.
So you have to know,
pony up.
Right? You have to pony up if you want to win big, and of course, to win big, you have to be willing to lose big. But we can definitely, cover that because it's something to where that's probably one of the reasons we avoided it at first, which was, one, is it going to be smoky and is it going to be dingy? And I don't want to have to spend a lot of money. Or what am I going to do when I'm not gambling? What else is there to do in Vegas? It's like, there's more than enough to keep you busy. And the nice thing is, if you're an insomniac, you never have to go to sleep because Vegas, there is stuff going on and nothing ever. Well, some of the restaurants close, but otherwise nothing closes. I didn't use it because this is just the old man that I am. There was a coupon in the one for the Irish restaurant that we went to, which was with the purchase of a Guinness, a free shot of Irish whiskey. Thought that was a great deal. Except in the fine print, it said after 11 p.m. And I'm sorry, by that point, I was not in a restaurant. I was usually back in bed trying to go to sleep.
Read the fine print.
Always read the fine print in Vegas or anywhere else. Always read the fine print. Disney World, same thing. Read the fine print. And it's an interesting comparison because I really like Disney World and I really like Vegas. And it just comes down to where you can get the more bang for your buck. And you're absolutely right. At Disney World, you have that mentality that you might have a good time, but you're going to blow that $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and you're never getting it back. And the only thing you can hope to get back is good memories. And you hope that it doesn't rain when you're there, or it's not 9,000 degrees when you're there.
Or like
Vegas has that mentality that, okay, you're probably going to lose, but I know one of these lotteries today is up to like $500 million, and there's so many people throwing money at it. Why? Because everybody thinks they might win.
Right.
And for the people that I know that have won big in Vegas, they have those stories. They don't tell you about the 20 times they went and lost.
Right.
It's eventually, if you go to Vegas enough, your luck is probably you're going to have a good time. And some of the, there's 1 out of every 10 or 20 times you might come home with more money than you left with. But that's that mentality that you might be able to win. And that gives the excitement to Vegas, which makes it a little bit different than Disney World. Although it's surprisingly, there's a lot of freaking kids around Vegas, even though they're not allowed in the casinos. A lot of parents seem to bring their kids. I don't know.
What do they? I mean, you can't keep going to shows. It's like, you could, but it's like, what for them? I mean,
I don't know. I just, if you're a parent and you have kids, here's a little tip: don't go to Vegas.
But back to Disney World, sitting there for 3 hours waiting for the fireworks show, and we had a couple with 3 young boys, probably all maybe 8, 5, and 3 or something. Ruben, Jethro, and I forget the other boy's name. I think it was Ernie. I'm not sure, but I know the Ruben and the Jethro. If you're out there, right?
Ruben and Jethro,
and one kid. I mean, the oldest one is sitting in the stroller of so the youngest one is, I guess, just sick of
I miss being able to have a stroller.
So we have like an 8-year-old in a stroller. Don't ask me why. And then all of a sudden he's like,
hey, if you could fit in a stroller, you would be in a stroller. Let me tell you.
Fanning his legs back and forth, farting like crazy. And I'm going, oh God, I hope we have to put up with this for the next, few hours. But we did. And then eventually, here's the line of the night. You knew that this kid had to go to the bathroom very bad. And all of a sudden he says, Mom, do they sell pants here? So somebody had a wardrobe malfunction.
And this is where you're going to the family.
I'm like,
we got to go.
It's great. Yeah. I'm like, these fireworks better be really good. Let me tell you.
These better be the best damn fireworks we've ever had.
Sell pants in Disney. Kids need them.
And yes. I'm sure they do sell pants.
And air fresheners too would be highly recommended. So on that note,
you're making Disney sound so good. I don't know. I'm kind of happy I went to Vegas. Didn't have that problem. And Vegas would be a place where I could see, going for a weekend every month or every 2 months if it wasn't for the flying part. That's the hard part. Now, if someone has a private jet, since we're doing video reviews, which you can check out my video reviews, we'll have to put a link to it yet because I don't have quite enough views yet to have one of those really cool YouTube, like youtube.com/Darren O'Neill. They don't give you that until you get like 10,000 views, although we're over halfway there, so we'll be getting one at some point. But with doing the product reviews for Amazon, we start doing video reviews on YouTube. So I guess we should start doing travel reviews, talk about places, talk about things to do. And Vegas is definitely one of these places that could be covered, and it could take a really long time because there is a lot of entertainment. There's a lot of great food. So for people that don't like to gamble and people who don't like to drink, like they should give you free food. If you don't want to take a free drink, they should be like, free hot dog. What do you need? But there is restaurants there if you ever watched like Top Chef, Tom Colicchio's got restaurants there. Gordon Ramsay has multiple restaurants. Emeril Lagasse, Mario, Wolfgang Puck, all the celebrity chefs, and a lot of really, really good chefs that, you may not know from TV, but are the actual best chefs in the world. Most of them have restaurants, if not multiple restaurants in Las Vegas. So if you're looking for a foodie place to go, I mean, you can go to New York, and you're going to have to be going all around the city, or, some of these places in Vegas, under one roof, under one hotel, you get multiple, Michelin star restaurants. So it's great for foodies. It's great for people that like to gamble. And if you're looking for entertainment, Billy Idol's going to be there in March and May. And the 80s kid in me is really kind of going, I wish I could go see Billy Idol at the House of Blues in Vegas, because going to a concert at home now, you kind of go to the concert, you go, oh, this sucks. And then you have to drive back home and you're tired. If you could just roll out of a Billy Idol concert right into a casino, I mean, what better night is there than that? Go see some. He's over 60 years old now. Billy's still doing it. Glad he's still alive, for one. But, if you're looking for entertainment value, you can see all sorts of concerts, all sorts of magic, of course, with Penn and Teller or Chris Angel, if you're into that kind of stuff. But you can pretty much find, next to anything you want. Actually, I don't know if there's anything you can't find in Vegas. If there's somebody out there who knows there's something you can't find in Vegas, mailbag@mancaveconfidential.com. Let us know. And if there are, if there's topics you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll certainly do our best to cover those, because we're doing the show for you. Although it seems like we're just doing the show to sit around and talk, because we'd be doing it anyway.
Just holding a phone.
Right. It's a difference of holding a phone and sitting in front of a computer. And if you have any, of course, dating questions, it's the FJ Shark is the one you want to send those questions to. Even though he's been out of the dating game longer than
dirt. No.
The last time he was looking for a date, the Cubs won the World Series, I think. So that was a long, long time ago. But when he was in his, we're going to be talking about like old baseball or hockey, but when he was in his prime, kids, FJ Shark, he knew what he was doing. So give the old man a break. If you have any questions, he can, you might have to explain to him about cell phones, texting, that kind of a thing. But, ask the questions, get the answers. And, basically we're going to be talking about old guy stuff, because it's occurred to us that we're kind of, I guess, are we old guys? We're on the cusp of being old guys. So
you talk to Hugh Hefner, he's like, 50 is young.
He's like,
all right.
You're like, yeah, how much Viagra do you need, buddy?
Uncle Hef, man.
Who started the greatest empire in the history of man and then let it fall apart. Although I think it was great that it was pretty much as the last issue of Playboy was rolling off the presses, which this is our last one featuring nudity. Maxim's like, hey, we can do nudes now. So it's going to be interesting to see that flip-flop there, because that's exactly what's happening. It's like, come on, Playboy. How'd you screw this up? How did you screw up?
They started listening to the people say, we just read it for the articles. Oh, you guys want more articles? Fine.
We have plenty of articles. Don't you worry about the articles. Well, it's actually, I read that it had something to do with China, because I guess, and I don't know why this is, but the Playboy brand, as far as putting the rabbit head on various types of items, which they put it on everything.
Right.
You can get rabbit head bathrobes, you can get rabbit head shot glasses, you can get rabbit head everything. I guess the brand is huge in China, even though pornography is illegal. So that is what I read was one of the driving reasons why Playboy was going to stop featuring nude women, so they could actually go bigger into the Chinese market. I would think that you would just have a Chinese version without nudity. I don't understand. This is now the world, I don't understand exactly how that's going to work out for them. It's a brand that was built on a very specific thing that I don't know how you screw it up.
Down the block in Chicago.
Right. This was the
original Playboy Mansion. We had it all.
And now, I hear like the mansion's now like just in a state of disrepair, and but he's a little too old. Not the one in Chicago. I think the one that they actually still use in LA is the one that's kind of run down. And
because when he had that show with the Playmates, what was it called?
The other one. Like something like the Bunny Next Door, or it was something.
Next Door. Yeah. They had they showed the workout room, and it was all like shag carpeting and all the equipment from the 70s. And they're like, we need to get this update. This is like from the late 70s, early 80s, and Hep is like, well, that's about the last time anybody ever used it. So it's
hey, yeah, your Bill Cosby had a lot of fun there in his day.
Dead silence.
That's a whole different story. That is a whole different story. But those are the kind of things that we're going to be covering. And, as we go along, we'll have, specific segments as they work out. We'll probably try to do an actual product review, and insert that into the show as we do those. FJ Shark may have a dating tip or, how to tell if your kids are, sneaking out of the house at 3 a.m. RFID chips just right in the neck, just when they're sleeping, they won't even know. That way you can track them everywhere they go. They're doing that to us already. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that to your kids. Send them out on the on the Disney vacation and come back penniless.
And insane.
And insane. That's exactly it. Is there anything we're missing here?
Just a goodbye, farewell.
Goodbye, farewell. Who did that? That's an old cowboy song. So if you want to get a hold of us, as you can see there, you got FJ Shark at womenfiguredout.com, or he is also at FJ Shark on Twitter. I am Darren O'Neill, and I am at Darren O'Neill on Twitter. It's 2 L's, though. There's an Olympic Irish boxer who has the one with just 1 L, even though his actual name is spelled with 2 L's. And he wanted me to give him the name, but since he's 3,000 miles away, he's a boxer. If he was close, I might have to think about it. But so if you're looking for him, that's a completely different guy. 2 L's. And if you have any types of products you want to be reviewed, or if you need to have information on that, throw that in there. Dating tips. If you have questions about travel, sports, beer, well, not really so much beer, but Irish whiskey, I'm your guy. Bourbon, we can probably cover. And Frank FJ Shark here hasn't really drank much, so we're going to have to set him down the path of righteousness.
Thank you.
Right. Mailbag at mancaveconfidential.com is where you can send us an email. And our website is mancaveconfidential.com. The store isn't up right now. We just moved servers. So you can't buy anything, but you can feel free to listen to all of the old audio podcasts and be the first to know when the new video podcasts are. Tell a friend about the show if you like what you're doing, which I guess you probably do if you're still watching this far into the show. So if you like what we're doing, tell a friend about the show, turn them on. We need people to watch, and we want to be able to put out the best possible show. So give us feedback, send us emails. Don't feel like you're bothering us. We can definitely call the police and put a restraining order out there if we need to.
Nice.
Like FJ Shark, I know he's done that a few times. There you go. It's like when it's usually people that are going, your book didn't help me at all. Never listen.
Going, quit publishing this crap.
Right. It's like, just don't worry. If she's, if no doesn't mean no. We need a disclaimer somewhere out here. We need a disclaimer. But thanks for watching. Until next time, I am Darren O'Neill.
I'm FJ Sharp.
Later.